Announced price increases does something to the online business industry. All of a sudden, there's a flurry of people questioning whether or not they need that piece of software, they should switch to another, and so I'm feeling a little bit of whiplash or deja vu. It was almost a year ago that HoneyBook announced that it was raising its prices. And it wasn't just raising prices on new subscribers, it was going back and raising prices on current subscribers as well in a tiered fashion. Now, I put out episode 185 on the podcast at that time, encouraging people not to automatically switch your CRM just because you're having a price increase. Price increases are a cost of doing business. They are going to happen every single month, every single year to different applications and software that we are using inside of our business. In the last 60 days, we have seen 3 different email marketing programs announce price increases. While I know that it's hard to keep absorbing price increase after price increase, in the last 3 days, I have seen multiple people ask on threads, should I replace my CRM with Google Workspace? This latest price increase has people questioning whether they want a CRM in general. Not should you switch your CRM, but should you ditch it altogether? Now, I want to make sure that we're all thinking about the core CRM functions that most of us are using inside of our CRMs. That is client communication, emails, forms, reminders, invoicing and payments, making sure that you can collect your money in a timely manner. Scheduling allows your clients to choose a day and time for your services without all that email ping pong back and forth. Task management and project management. Now, I want to say I'm adding this on here as a feature, but this is nowhere near to the level that you would get out of something like ClickUp or Asana. Just keep that in mind as we go forward. Workflows and automations, which I think is like the thing that you get a CRM for. Contracts and legal protection. Yes, most of us that are doing services need that contract signed, and we need it to be an integral part of the booking process. And then finally, we've got intake forms and questionnaires. When we are working with people, we need them to give us information, and we need them to give us this information in the most streamlined possible way. Now, I gotta admit, when I read all of that, you could get a different app for every single one of those features. And if you paid for some and got some for free, you would still be paying a big amount of money every month for those. So when you think about all the things that your CRM does for you, $40, even $55 a month just still seems like a bargain. Because I think the point that people are missing is that when you are doing all of this inside your CRM, you are getting centralization, organization, and automation. And that's the part that gets left out when you start picking a different app to do all the features. Now, can you create your own custom system for a CRM? Absolutely. And right now, the one that everybody seems to be fixated on is let's use Airtable and then use all of these other apps and basically organize it inside of Airtable. And I've got to tell you, that's actually currently how I run 95% of my business. It can totally be done. But before you run out and start thinking you're going to run your entire business out of Airtable, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. Number 1, how tech savvy are you really? Yes, you can do your scheduling in Acuity, Calendly, TidyCal, some other Zapier friendly scheduler, and you can bring all of those appointments into a centralized location like Airtable. But if your Zap breaks or your Stripe invoice doesn't trigger, who do you go to? That's the problem with having systems that are really duct taped together. So if one piece breaks, who are you going to go to help you fix it? If you have an all-in-one CRM like Dubsado, HoneyBook, 17 Hats, and a piece of your process breaks, they are the people that you go to in order to get help in fixing it. Now, maybe you are tech savvy. Maybe that is not a problem for you. So let's move on to question number 2. Are you making it inconvenient for your clients? Yes. You can send them a scheduler to do something in Acuity or Calendly. You can even have them pay there. Yes, you can get a contract signed in many different apps. But do you have any idea how annoying it is on the client side to get one email for this task, another email for a different task? I want your booking process to be 5 minutes tops. And every time you use a different app for a different piece and you send a different email, you are introducing booking friction into the most important part of your service, and that's getting paid. So, you can bring together Calendly, Acuity, QuickBooks, Google Forms. You can bring all of those things together, but every time you are sending a different link and a different app to your clients, that is another place that they have to go in order to do something. And then the question is, how do you remind them to do the thing if they haven't done it? If it is in multiple apps, that means that you are going to rely on some form of zaps in order to send emails to remind them to complete the task that they need to do. Again, simplicity is your friend here. You can use free or cheap software. You can tie it all together with Zapier. But when it breaks, or if it is inconvenient for your clients, that is just not worth the trouble of saving yourself $40 to $55 a month. The real cost is your time, your energy, and the experience that you are giving your clients. You don't really want to manage 5 different applications to do what you used to be able to do inside of one. So, clearly, I am not a fan of you ditching your CRM for something that you custom put together. Now, does that mean that I am talking to everybody with that statement? No. There are actually some exceptions, and I have been doing a lot of setups for people recently who are doing more of like a group service than they are a one-to-one service. And in that case, I think Airtable is really getting up there in terms of you managing all the pieces. But before you manage the experience, you have to get the client booked. And I am still all for you paying for a CRM in order to make the booking and inquiry process as smooth as possible. Because whether you are using Dubsado, HoneyBook, 17 Hats, one that is made just for photographers, it is helping you give your clients a streamlined experience from beginning to end. And every single time you bring a different app into the situation, you run the risk of breaking the experience and creating that friction. Okay, so after hearing all of this, if you are still itching to cancel your CRM, I want you to do these 3 things first. I want you to, number 1, audit your usage. How much are you really getting out of your current CRM? Either the features that you're using or the features that it has that you're currently not using. What could you automate better? Is it really that CRM isn't worth the increased price, or is it that you're just mad that you have to pay them more? The second thing that I want you to do is evaluate client friction. How easy is it for your clients in your process right now? And are you going to be making it harder for them to ditch your CRM and put together a bunch of apps in its place? And that brings me around to number 3. Before you make the leap, I want you to get some strategic advice. It could be from me. It could be from another systems expert. But we do this all day, every day. And there are things that we know that you should consider that you might not think to question. So maybe you don't realize that this one little thing is currently being done by your CRM, and you go find all of these apps to replace it. And then when you sit down and you actually go to make the system, you realize that it really won't work for your business. So before you waste a lot of time and energy, get an opinion of a systems expert on what you're planning to do and whether or not that will actually replace all of the things that you currently are using in your CRM. Now, inside Systems in Session, I help people design and implement their client experience inside of Dubsado. But I am also totally willing to tell you if that is not the right fit for you. So if you have questions, I highly recommend that you reach out to me or someone else. All right, so let's bring it back around. If you missed episode 185, where I highly encouraged you not to switch CRMs just because there's been a price increase, make sure that you've listened to that episode. If you've heard everything in this episode and you are still questioning whether or not you need your CRM, let's talk before you make any rash decisions. All right, that's it for this episode. See you next time.